All right, then let's get started. So once again, welcome everybody to today's webinar on leveraging process digitization for better process governance on ServiceNow. My name is Daniela and I will be your moderator for this session. Joining me virtually today have the Global Business Services Digital Transformation Director of Lexmark, Vincent Lacour. Very welcome, Vincent. We're very glad you're here with us. Before we get started, I just want to mention some basic housekeeping rules to manage everyone's expectations of this session. During the presentation, all participants will be on mute. However, please use the chat or the Q&A box for any questions you may have. We've dedicated time at the end of the session for them. And during the Q&A, you will be able to unmute yourself to ask your question live if you wish to do so. And without further ado, I will hand over the virtual microphone to Vincent.
Thanks, Daniela. Can you hear me right?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Daniela, and I hope you are going to feel better very soon. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. So I'm pleased today to be in a position to share a bit more about our process digitization initiative in Lexmark. And I'm Vincent Lacour, as Daniel said, GBS Digital Transformation Director in Lexmark. So in fact, for this session, I wanted to give you back some context as you may be from different industries, from different organizations. So I'll get started with a few minutes on Lexmark and what the GBS organization is, just to make sure that we level set everyone. Next, we'll go to the core content of this session, which is all about the imagined vision. What did we want to achieve with process digitization? And we'll go through connecting processes, delivering an authoritative source of truth, as well as being able to identify opportunities for process reengineering. As I'll get through that, I'll go through two demos. In fact, they will be focusing on two different personas, the end user, the process analyst or the subject matter expert, as well as the leaders. Last, to wrap up this session, in fact, I'll circle back with few facts and give a kind of project status. Where are we 9 months later by facts? And as well, where are we from a thought process perspective? It means, where are we from the unimagined vision? What are we going to release next after this first release being implemented? Right, so let's move on with the context. And I think, once again, it's very important to be in a position to share it, to give you the understanding on where are we, what are we talking about. So first, Lexmark. So Lexmark is recognized as a global leader in the imaging and document services market. Products, services, and solutions are consistently recognized by industry analysts with customers in over 170 countries. If you think about it, in fact, we have over 6.5 million devices operating in the field, of which 1 million are managed directly. When I'm saying managed directly, it's really that we have an MPS, Managed Print Services Agreement, with our customers, and we are leveraging them through our IoT platform. This can give you a good visibility in terms of complexity we may have in our processes. So that's the reason why I wanted to give this visibility about Lexmark. If you shift now to GBS. So first, GBS stands for Global Business Services Organization. And in fact, GBS organization is a natural evolution of shared services. If you think through that, you start by, in case you have already been through it or you're thinking about it, but you start by implementing some shared services to move transactional activities from high-cost countries to low-cost countries. As you get there, if you want to reach the next maturity level, in fact, you are looking for GBS organization type of activities. And when you think about GBS, the core in GBS is the word process. Everything is about end-to-end process governance, right? And when you are getting there at stage 3 or 4 of the maturity level, if you want to shift to the next level, it's all about shifting from transaction-driven activities to value creation delivery. And to get there, in fact, you have the opportunity to leverage different options that are listed on the top right side of the screen. Process digitization is one of them, and that's what I'm going to share a bit more today. So what does it mean? I've talked about Lexmark, I've talked about GBS, so I just wanted to give you some perspective of what do we mean GBS at Lexmark, what it is about. So very high level, in fact, we are covering a set of activities that we are supporting for the business. From finance, with plan to report, order to cash, procure to pay, services that we call onboarding to resolution, or as well sales and marketing. As part of these activities within GBS, we have as well a group, a work streams that I'm leading in charge of digital transformation that includes data and analytics. And I'll get back through this example in the demo for something that relates back to data governance, right? So as I've said a few minutes back in the previous slide, in fact, the entire objective of our organization is to understand how can we shift to the next level in terms of maturity level. And shifting to the next level is very connected with the ability to drive digital transformation. And that's why we define as an organization what would enable us to deliver value with agility and speed. And digital transformation is a key aspect of it. We identify 5 pillars to get there, to deliver this digital transformation: data and analytics, user experience, hyper automation, the pillar that we call U, that relates back to upskilling our talents with digital skills, and the one that is called digitization, the reason why we are in this webinar today. If you think through it, in fact, process digitization, I may have called it in a bit nicer way to be more aligned with the industry standards. In that case, I would have called it DigitalTwin. But on purpose, I kept from a tactical perspective the word digitization. What digitization stands for? In fact, digitization is the process of transforming, of converting data to a digital format. And that's what it is about, converting data to a digital format. Digitalization is a process of transforming your business process by leveraging digital technology. So let me shift now that I've put the context to the core content of this presentation. But once again, think about it. Digitization is just about converting data to a digital format. So where are we? So what we wanted to achieve 9 months back, a year back? What was our imagined vision? In fact, as we were working on our strategies that I was sharing a few seconds back from a digital transformation perspective, a key aspect became super clear. Okay, we have to work on building a digital twin. And what a digital twin is, it's a virtual model designed to accurately reflect a physical object. If you are in the manufacturing industry, I think it's going to be quite clear and obvious what are the benefits of getting a digital copy of your physical product. Because you are going to leverage this digital copy to be in a position to re-engineer your product. Okay, you will be in a position to fast track any EC engineering changes because you will be leveraging a digital asset instead of a physical product. When it comes to a GBS organization, and that's why I was sharing a bit what a GBS organization is about, when we talk about a GBS organization, our physical object, our product, it's our processes, right? And we want to do nothing but the same than what people are doing from a manufacturing perspective. We want to make sure that we are in a position to digitize our processes from eye level down to task level in a connected environment to deliver some benefits. We want to do it to ensure that we'll be in a position to get connected processes with end-to-end visibility. We want to be able to do it to deliver an authoritative source of truth. Think about any ISO or audit related request, or as well of any BCP, business continuity plan, that you have to deliver. But we want to do it as well to identify opportunities for process re-engineering. And that was the imagined vision. If I translate this imagined vision with a few charts, so that's really all about being in a position to move from your high-level processes, L1, L2 processes, down to activities, down to workflows. And these workflows are nothing but a sequence of tasks, consecutive tasks that are assigned to roles or actors, and for which you may have SWI, standard work instruction. Think about Lexmark as an organization that is already ISO certified. So we had a lot already available because we were ISO certified. It's not like if we're starting from scratch, but what we wanted to achieve by leveraging Inspire and by delivering this process digitization, it's really to be in a position to move to the next level in terms of maturity, especially by making sure that we get everything available in a connected environment. I'll get back to that in a second, but making sure that you can digitize your process and then being in a position to leverage it, that's something that does matter. And that's why we need to make sure that we have the right governance in place and the right structure in terms of database, how you implement this digitization. Before moving forward with the first demo, I wanted to circle back on three things that were quite important for us in Lexmark as we were walking through this process. The first one is related to task mining versus process mining, then Imagined Vision, and then the shift from library to database. When you are looking at DigitalTwin, in fact, quite quickly, you are going to see that there are two main opportunities. Either it's going to be called process mining or task mining. Process mining, that's interesting. That's not the path that we've followed, but process mining, it's all about understanding what's happening in your transactional system, right? So that's based on the system event log. That's going to give you some visibility on your process, whether that's following the happy path of if you are getting a bunch of deviation that is preventing you to be efficient from a system perspective. Task mining is different because that's kind of system agnostic. That's more looking at the tasks that your teams are doing as they have to execute the process. For example, if you get at the very end of your process, you have to send an email, you are going to get a task that will be called send an email and so on. And I'll take back this example in the demo. The second thing that was important for us as we were clear on focusing on task mining was to make sure that we're in a position to work on iterative sprints, in an agile methodology, focusing on the imagined vision, not trying to boil the ocean, really trying to focus on what do we want to achieve. And from here, we'll be able to work on the next release afterwards, focusing on the imagined vision. And then as soon as this will be delivered, we'll be able to move on with the next layer with the unimagined vision. The last piece, and I've mentioned it a few seconds back, that's about the shift from library to database. That's two different concepts of getting a library, getting a list of all your processes documented and available that you can look for. That's great. So if you get 20 Visio files, you will have to open 20 Visio files, compared to get all these documentation digitized and available in a database where you can search for it easily. You don't have to open your 20 Visio files. You can do it straight in the database, and that's going to connect you to the information you are looking for. And that's something that is extremely important to understand. It's not just about digitizing our processes. It was as well about identifying the ways we will be able to leverage this digitization to identify opportunities for process reengineering, right? So let me move on with the first demo. And the first demo you're going to see, it's really all about our end user. Think about newbies in the organization or our process analyst up to the first line manager. Once again, what we wanted to deliver, it's back to our imagined vision, was connected processes. It was delivering an authoritative source of truth and as well opportunities for process reengineering. So the solution itself, in fact, is connected with ServiceNow, and we're already ServiceNow users, so we can connect it from ServiceNow. So let me play the video. I'm still doing the voiceover, so I may stop from time to time. So from here, in fact, you connect to Designer, which is the solution. And what's happening, you can see, okay, where do you stand as an end user and what are the different things that you can look at? The thing that is interesting if you go through that is that you can already see that anybody can have access to it, not in an edit mode, but can have access to it. I'm just, oops, sorry. I'm just going to pause, and I will have to redo it. I'm just going to pause it to show you that the way we are organized, we're not talking about like 5 diagrams. We are talking about more than 300 diagrams. I'm going to pause it in a second. That are split across the different work streams that we have in GBS. So that's a GBS-wide initiative. That's what I just wanted to show you right now. So why it's interesting, because when we are talking about transparency, when you are talking about connecting processes, you can do it just in silo for your small area, or you can try to combine the processes from other areas, and that's where you get the best benefits. So let me move on. And in that specific example, I was speaking my area. As I told you, I'm in charge of data and analytics that includes data governance, right? So here, as a newcomer, I'll be able to connect and to see what will be my role. And as part of data governance, we're in charge of the most important master data in our company, that's customer and partner, vendor, product material, and finance. And here I would say, okay, I want to understand a bit better, how do you activate a customer, for example, in our system? So in that case, it's in SAP. So I can zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, and I can look at this activity. And from this activity, if I click on it, I'm able to see the workflow. And this workflow, it's already interesting because that's providing you the visibility and the understanding, right? That's interesting. The thing that matters is, as you can see, there are different colors on the top right side of each box that gives you whether this task is automated or not. And I'll get back to that. That's something that is already interesting. You get the visibility for these 16 process tasks, which one are automated. You have as well the ability to see in which system these tasks are happening in case it's happening in a system. And that's what you can see here with transaction XD02, which is in that case in SAP. But you can as well go to a lower level of detail in case you want to get more information for that specific task. So it's kind of subtask. So that's what I've just clicked on. And for this process tasks, in fact, you will be able to see every steps. And what's interesting here is these steps doesn't have the same automation level. Some of them are manual with system, the first ones, but as you move to the right, that things that have been automated. Remember, I was talking about the email activity or the email tasks. So this one was something that was before manual, but as part of our digital transformation strategy, we were focusing on hyper automation, and we have a nice solution enabling us to automate email notification that are by default non-value added tasks. We were applying it to the, I'm just going to pause it for a second. We were applying it to the different tasks that were sending email to drive some automation. And here it was about 10 minutes, 3 times a day. So it's about 100 hours in a year. Not that much, but and I'm going to share that a bit later, but as we are able to aggregate and to identify all the tasks that are like this one, that may start making a difference. You see what I mean? The other piece that is interesting, and I'm going to go back to play the video, it's if you want to get more visibility, how does it work? The authoritative source of truth. We didn't have to rebuild our documentation because that was available, and that's still the case. And you can get the exact same in your companies, in your organization, where that's a process document explaining you step by step what you have to do in the transactional system. So we didn't have to rebuild everything. We could leverage it, and we could get more. At a task level, and that's very important, we were defining what are the information for us that were important, that we could leverage afterwards. First, you digitize. Second, you are going to leverage this digitization. And what we wanted to make sure that we get was, of course, the name and the description of the task, but as well the automation level. That's what driving the color code on the top right side of each box of each process task, but as well the task time and the transaction. Just by doing that, in fact, that's really enabling us to connect the process, to zoom in, zoom out, to move from the top level to the task level, to provide visibility back to our employees. And when I'm saying providing back visibility, it's as well pushing back accountability to our process analysts, to our end user and our first line managers, because they are now in a position to assess and to visually get some insight on their process and to ask themselves, can I change something to get this process more efficient, right? So that's something that is great. And this first demo, in fact, was just about sharing with you a bit more the benefits, connecting the processes, providing an authoritative source of truth, and the first level of how can we leverage that in terms of opportunities for process reengineering. But the core, as I've said, is really to make sure that as you digitize this process, you do it in a structured and governed way. You do it in a structured and governed way because you want to make sure that you are able to identify opportunities. You want to make sure that you identify opportunities either for automation, for simplification, or for optimization. And the way you are able to do it more from a leader perspective, not anymore as a first-line manager or the other personas like the process analyst or the end user, it's really by being in a position to aggregate your members and to get some insight out of this aggregation. That's why the connected environment is critical for us. What I'm going to do in the next few minutes is to go through one demo for the automation, and I will do a voiceover for simplification and optimization. So this is the way we are aggregating and how we are representing our processes on our side. So let me play the video. So what I want you to do here, it's really to get back to the example I was picking with a 16 task, process task, is to say, okay, let's have a look to this diagram, which was activate customer partner in SAP. So when I clicked on it, in a second, I'm able to see that it's 16 tasks, one workflow. And by the way, I'm able to see there are some things that are missing that has not been completed yet. Can I get it as well from designer? No matter what, of course I can. The point is, if I'm able to get some analytics out of it, I'm going to fast track all my analysis. And I will be able to identify some patterns. I will be able to identify eventually some things that I could work on to drive automation, simplification, or optimization. So that's my process with the 16 tasks. Out of it, can I identify which one I am missing, either automation or I'm missing the process time? No, I cannot, or it will take some time. Here, because it has been digitized, I can go drill through and get to it. The other thing that was interesting for me, and I'm going to pause it for a second, the other thing that was interesting as you start to leverage this digitization is that, remember the task that was sending an email where I told you that was great because we're able to identify an opportunity for automation. This was one task, but because we've worked on our hyper automation strategy, we have a solution to automate any type of email notification, which is a non-value added activity. Now, I can do something different just for my area, data governance. I can start asking myself, and in fact, when I'm saying myself, it's the system, how many tasks do I have where the title include a word like email? And before, I would have to go through different visio. Now, I can do it straight and check it. Of course, we can improve a bit our reporting solution right now. But the purpose is just to say, okay, now I have the information available at fingertips. And we had 28 tasks that are including emails in their title. And this is giving us some opportunity to understand first, what are these tasks, which process analyst, which diagram, what is the current automation level of these tasks, so that we can go back and better drive our processes. And that's really a story that is interesting because that's how we can leverage our process digitization initiative to drive better process governance, right? The next thing I wanted to share a bit more is, after this example of automation, what do we mean by simplification? You know, as we work on this process digitization, you've seen through the workflow that we are getting tasks assigned to actors. Basically, most of us may call it swim lanes as we walk through the process digitization. What we realize is anytime you are adding a swim lane in your process digitization initiative, that's impacting your end customer, because that's making more people to go through. It's more complex to get your single point of contact and so on and so on. So where we are at today, it's really by getting this, leveraging this digitization and checking out of our different diagrams, how many actors are being engaged. And afterwards, we can check which actors are being engaged. And if these actors, they are 80% of the time talking to each other, is there really a sense to get these people in different teams, or can we change the way we are supporting our processes to make it more efficient and to combine activities together if the people are always the same one before and after? And that's this type of thing that we are looking at that will enable us to get rid of all the politics, all the subjective mindset when we take decision on how should we support a process, and base our decision on facts rather than feelings. The last one for optimization, you've seen it quickly through the attributes that were at the task level. But as we are mapping our processes, at the same time, we are walking through the task time, the process execution time, and the wait time, in short. And that is giving us some visibility now, and we are just at the beginning on our side. That's giving us the visibility to understand how much time that the process takes, but even more important, where are the bottlenecks and where should we focus if we need to drive some improvement in terms of end-to-end lead time? And that's these type of things that our process digitization initiative is enabling now, this type of insight, right? So with that being said, let me now shift to the last part of our presentation, which is a kind of project status 9 months later. So where are we 9 months later? So first of all, so you were seeing at the very beginning of the presentation, as I was presenting GBS at Lexmark, the way we are structured by work streams. We decided to split the deliverables in 2 phases based on process maturity and upcoming system changes, right? So nevertheless, we're able to move quite fast thanks to the support of 50 designers. What designer means, it's a process analyst or the subject matter expert that participated to the initiative on top of their duties. And where we are today, you've seen these numbers, in fact, 326 diagrams. That's what you were seeing as the first demo when I was connecting to designer. You were able to see 326 diagrams, more than 3,400 tasks. So it's quite massive what has been undertaken. It's not just about 5 diagrams or these type of things. And that's really because we believe that will be our path to identify opportunities for process reengineering. It's not just for our process analysts to get a cooler tool. It's not just for newbies that will be able to get more transparency. It's as well because we have a belief at a leadership perspective that this will help us to be much better in how we are governing and delivering our process back to the business. The next big piece for us, I was talking about the imagined vision. Remember the 3 things: connected processes, authoritative source of truth, and re-engineering opportunities. As we are getting there, in fact, at the same time, we can start building what's the next release, if you will. What is the unimagined vision that we can build upon the first release? And we are seeing a bunch of opportunities, and I just wanted to share a few of them. You can go through it by yourself, but you remember I was talking about the transaction. And in fact, we could start leveraging the transaction to better manage our regression testing when there are some technical enhancements or upgrades, or as well to drive the communication back to the teams that are impacted in a much more tiny and focused distribution list, instead of sharing it with too many people that do not really care if they are not concerned. We could start leveraging this type of digitized information to pre-build some job description. Any task is assigned to an actor that relates back to a team, if I'm summarizing it. So we could have a kind of living document for job description. We could as well leverage this type of solution for headcount modeling. As you've seen, we start getting the process execution time. If you times it with the volume, you can start thinking about headcount modeling stuff, and so on and so on. So that's something that is really interesting because, as we moved with our MVP, our minimum viable products that was to invest in, we can now move to the next release and in a much more agile manner. So to recap, and before moving to the Q&A, I just wanted to give you back some timing perspective. We started in April. In fact, technically, I was the only one engaged end of last year to identify what were the enhancements that we had to do with the solution so that it would benefit to the GBS organization. So we had few enhancements to deliver, but we truly started from a team perspective early April. We are not starting from scratch because, once again, we are ISO certified. So all our 9001, so all our processes are documented, and that's quite robust as such. The first major milestone, it's really at the end of this year, with the L2, L3 completed for the phase 1 processes. And as well with the ability to start with the first version of analytics. You've seen the basic version, I would say, and as well as the first re-engineering stories, like the email story. And now we are in a position to start imagining the unimagined vision, if you will. In 9 months from now, the idea would be really to get the first phase, the imagined vision, completely released, and to be in a position to start releasing few things related to the unimagined vision, the things I was sharing in the previous slide. Okay, that's all about our story in terms of process digitization initiative that I wanted to share with you through this webinar. I hope it's been interesting on your side and you were learning a few things. So now I'm going to shift to you back, Daniela, with the question and answers.
Thank you, Vincent. So we have a question from Arturo Casillas. He's asking how to do an update or maintenance into DigitalTwin if your process change.
Yeah, very good question and very important, in fact, because the entire purpose is to make sure that you keep this version as a living document. For us in Lexmark, that's part of the way we are organized or structured through the GBS organization is with global process leads, and then reporting to process leads are some process analysts that are in charge of maintaining the documentation, meaning that if your process change, they are going to update designer to make it correct and align with what is truly happening. So that's part of our activities or their activities, the process analyst, to keep it live, because at the minute where you are not anymore in sync, you are destroying the entire value of this initiative. So that's very important, and that's part of the process. And just for your information, as part of it, we have a periodic revalidation of our processes that is tackled by our process analysts, but we are really making sure that on a yearly basis, the process analysts are vetting that the processes have not changed, or in case they have changed and it was not captured, they are updating the processes themselves.
Thank you, Vincent. We have other few questions in the line. So what will be your recommendation for me to start similar initiative? What do I need to get up and running, and what is the minimum requirement?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So I think there are different things to consider. The first one is your maturity level. Before digitizing, I think it's really important to make sure that you're able to standardize your process. You're able to start with the first level of process. So the maturity level, it's very important because you need to start with something. And maybe digitization, it's a second level of maturity. You need, but let's say that you are at the right level in terms of maturity and you already get your process mapped, these kind of things. I think what needs to be identified next is your critical resources and, even more important, the value you want to get out of this initiative. Once again, it's not just about digitizing, because if you limit yourself to the digitization, that's great, that's cool, that's helping and supporting your organization, especially the personas that are the end user and the process analyst, but that's not serving too much your leaders. And it has to provide back value to your leaders. So make sure that you understand the value you try to deliver out of this initiative. The last thing I'd like to highlight here is if you want to get started, focus on your imagined vision. Focus on your first release. Don't try to boil the ocean. Try to split it in different agile sprints and deliver it to show the value quicker to your organization.
Thank you. I have another one here. How much time did it take to get where you are today?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'm going to give you back a bit of our story in Lexmark. So first, from a GBS perspective, we created the GBS organization back in 2018, 4 years back. The shared service centers, it's 20 years back. But as we were creating our GBS organization, we were focusing on a set of activities. Last year, in 2022, we were building our strategy roadmap for the next 5 years. And that's only at that time when we were ready to talk about pure digital transformation initiative. And that at that time, back last year, where we were releasing this strategy, digital transformation strategy, with process digitization being one of the 5 pillars. From there, it took us like a year to be where we are today. And technically, the first 3 months was just about myself designing how I'm going to get value out of this initiative. And then since April, sorry, it's a bunch of process analysts delivering the vision, executing the vision. And that's really what's great today. I'm not anymore the one doing this vision. The process analysts are the one pitching it in front of their peers and their managers. So in short, you have the maturity level you need to go through. But as you get started, I think in a year, you can get the same result than what I'm getting today from a Lexmark perspective.
Thank you, Vincent. There is another one. So what was the complexity of getting the project up and running? And what about the complexity of the tool? How much training was required?
Yeah, the tool itself, it's really cool. In fact, the way it's working and the real-time designing capabilities or process mapping capabilities. And if you have already a process analysts that are used with like Visio, I mean, it's a matter of hours to get trained to use it. The complexity, I think, on my side at least, was more to make sure that we get the right engagement with my peers so that they would allocate their process analyst to this initiative. So, and making sure that we had the right, the availability of these resources, of the critical skills. So that was more the complexity on my side, making sure that we get the alignment of the organization with this initiative so they understand the benefits, the value we want to get out of it, and why we were shooting for a very 9 months initiative, if you will, which is quite short, and get the time of their team. The tool itself, once again, it's quite straightforward. And what you have to do, nevertheless, it's to make sure that you structure it so that every designers will design in the same way so that you can leverage this digitization, this connected environment afterwards. And this, you have to build it. But other than that, the tool itself, it's quite straightforward. So you can go, it's a question of hours, not days or weeks.
Thank you. So well, I have this one here. What are the key issues you've been facing with this initiative?
I think, as I've said, the key issue my side I was facing, it's more the time allocated for the designer to go through the process more than anything else. So it was, from time to time, it was a bit conflicting with their other priorities. But once again, it's because we started that back in April. And if we would have started that and identifying this as part of their objectives for the year, it would have been much easier. So they were doing that on top of their BAU, on top of their, I would say, of their work. So that was the main issue I've faced. For the rest, I think it's people were able to see quite quickly the output or the value we could get out of it. And that's where I was talking about the designers themselves being able to pitch to their teams, to their managers, what are we going to get out of it? So the biggest key issue was more on my side, the time of the critical resources.
Okay, let's go for the last one. So can you describe an unimagined vision a bit more?
Yeah, no, for sure. So, as I've said, the entire objective of this initiative was, okay, we don't want to deliver a project that's going to take 3 years. Eventually, in 3 years from now, the processes would have changed already 2 or 3 times. So we wanted to be in a position to fast track this initiative and to say, okay, what is the minimum viable product we want to start with, we want to deliver that has value for the organization. And that's why we said, let's focus on connected processes, authoritative source of truth, and getting the first opportunities for process reengineering. What's coming next is what we didn't work as such as the first release, but that's what I was sharing is, what else can we do with this solution? And I was talking about headcount modeling. There is as well, how do you insert analytics as part of, or indicators as part of the process itself? That's the thing that we're working on right now. And the next big thing, in fact, is how will we be able to break silos across the organization, not just within GBS, but across the organization. To some extent, the more silos you break, the bigger opportunities are. Think back about my example. I was just picking on purpose an easy one. Emails. If I'm looking at all the emails I'm sending in my tiny organization, that was about 30 emails. If I'm expanding to GBS, that's about 150. If I'm expanding to Lexmark World, that may be even more. And that's really the unimagined vision. It's how do we ensure that we go to the next level in terms of capabilities, and as well that we are engaging the one that may not yet be engaged within the corporation.
Thank you, Vincent, for all your insights, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. We hope this was an insightful webinar for you. And if we didn't get to your question, we will be in touch with you very soon. And if you want to read Lexmark full success story, just please scan the QR code on the slide and we will send you a copy of it. Thank you once again and have a nice rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.